Okay, so let's begin. Spoilers ahead. From the start of the film, we'll see Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, wearing the 2002 Spider-Man armor, but without the helmet. The action then pivots to Spider-Man, whose identity was just exposed. No Way Home will pick up right after Far From Home, with Spider-Man having to deal with the fact that people know who Spider-Man is in this timeline. It's Aunt May who will hook Spider-Man up with a lawyer, who turns out to be Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock. We'll see Daredevil telling Spider-Man that he knows he's innocent. And he knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But the prosecution will use doctored footage to prove that Spider-Man did kill Mysterio in the previous films. Speaking of doctors, Peter ends up in prison after his initial legal battle, and that's when a portal opens up with a paper reading, 177A Bleecker St. Hurry. Now, we know from leaked set photos that Spider-Man will meet Doctor Strange at the Sanctum. This No Way Home plot leak preceded the set photo reveal by a few weeks too. Peter takes MJ and Ned to the Sanctum. Strange tells them that the flow of time is disturbed and that realities are bleeding into each other. The wizard has an orb that supposedly allows him to manage realities. Apparently, two timelines are merging into a single one. Strange has to use pure magic, as the Infinity Stones are gone. And he can't leave the Sanctum. But villains from other realities that are almost like the primary MCU timeline have arrived, and they're all connected to Spider-Man. Strange reveals that the villains were taken from the Raimi and TASM timelines. The villains were removed from those universes right before their deaths. They're all working for someone, although Strange doesn't mention the Green Goblin at this point. That's when Strange gives Peter a special suit. He combines the Iron Spider with magic, and that's apparently what the integrated suit is all about. Spider-Man will have to capture the invading villains. That's why he needs special powers. Spider-Man captures 5 of the Sinister Six. But they injure him, and only 3 of them end up in the Sanctum. That's where Peter learns about Sandman's history from Spider-Man 3 in the Raimi-verse. He tells the villain that in this reality his daughter got to live while Sandman died during a bank heist. Ultimately the villains escape, with Spider-Man rushing after them. That's when we learn that Norman Osborn is leading the Sinister Six. He arrived in the MCU reality in the past. He then disposed of this reality's real Norman Osborn, and kept Oscorp under the radar to avoid the same fate from the Raimi-verse. Just as Norman prepares to kill Tom, we get Andrew wearing the Spider-Man suit from Amazing Spider-Man 2, saving Tom. The Sinister Six never use this group name in the film. But they do have a base of operations, and they do have a sinister plan. All of them, except for Sandman, plan on killing the MCU's Spider-Man and conquer this world. According to the plot leak, they want to attack the Sanctum, kill Strange, Tom and Andrew, steal the orb, and then bring over more versions of themselves into the MCU. Act 2 will show us Tom and Andrew interacting. They'll talk about the similarities and differences between their two worlds. Strange will explain that he used a forgotten spell to pull a particular person from a different timeline, Andrew. The spell allows him to pick his targets, whereas the current multiverse problem moves people over randomly. Strange can't give Andrew more of his magic, so the two Spider-Man build new suits for themselves. Tom gets the black and gold suit, while Andrew receives a high-tech black and gold classic Iron Spider suit. It's just Tom who will continue to use magic, however. It's at this point that we get to meet Toby. We find him in his timeline, where he continues to save people as Spider-Man. This is where Kirsten Dunst's MJ cameo appears, and we learn the two of them have a daughter named May Parker. Toby wants to retire as Spider-Man, as other heroes have started appearing in this universe. It's unclear who they are, however. Norman Osborn and the Sinister Six attack the Sanctum with Tom, Andrew and Strange playing defense. The fight is a pretty big one, with the two Spider-Man capturing 4 of the 6 villains, Lizard, Scorpion, Vulture, and Doc Ock. Norman stabs Tom through the shoulder, and that's when Sandman saves this Spider-Man version. Osborn kills Sandman, as we learn that he has a contingency plan in place to neutralize the villains who would not remain loyal to him. Norman also has a new glider from the MCU's Norman variant, which he uses to defeat Tom and Andrew. Other No Way Home plot leaks warned us the film would feature a heartbreaking death. According to this leak, it'll be MJ. With the two Spider-Men down for the count, MJ strikes Norman in the head with a steel pipe, but it didn't hurt him. Norman slowly turns his attention to MJ. Tom screams at MJ to run, but Norman grabs her by the neck and tosses her across the room, slamming into a wall rather brutally. Tom screams, but is knocked down by Norman with one punch. MJ will have a death similar to Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone, in TASM 2. Tom cradles MJ, who starts bleeding from the noise, mirroring the moment Andrew lost Gwen in TASM 2. Andrew takes off his mask in shock. MJ dies. Ned and May console Tom, but Strange tells him that they've escaped with the orb, but he has brought one last backup, even though it isn't much. The Sinister Six might have stolen the orb from Strange, but not before the wizard cast a spell on it, making it glow red briefly. That's where Strange drops a portal in Raimi's universe to grab Toby for the final fight. We're looking at 3 Spider-Man versions against the Sinister Six. Toby and Andrew try to hold back the Sinister Six while Tom goes after the orb. The device is overcharged with energy, as Norman has been using it without access to magic. Norman is trying to pull villains from other realities. If the orb is destroyed, then Strange will have no way of fixing the multiverse. Portals start appearing from the sky, buildings, cars, and even people start falling from them. Tom successfully sends all the villains and the 2 other Spider-Men back to their respective timelines. Norman is put back in the last second before he's impaled by his glider. Luckily, the orb didn't break, but it's heavily cracked. That's when Peter has the bright idea to use the orb to bring MJ back to life and get his secret identity back. Strange warns against that, but Peter does it anyway. The orb breaks, and then Tom looks around as something happens, similar to when Thanos snapped his fingers. Strange asks what he has done as the screen fades to white. Peter's orb magic worked. People no longer know who he is, and MJ is alive. But MJ has no recollection of who Peter is, of their love story. Here's how No Way Home ends, according to the plot leak. We cut to Tom waking up in his bed. He greets Aunt May good morning and heads for school. At school, he meets Ned. They see MJ walk past the hallway, but she doesn't recognize them. She also seems to be more popular than she was before. Tom recognizes her and becomes sad seeing her, but Ned doesn't. He just says that she's out of their league. We see a somber montage of a depressed Tom going about his day in high school. There's also a class about alternate dimensions. Tom walks out of a classroom after class and bumps into a blonde girl. They say sorry to each other and make eye contact, but we don't see who this girl's face. Cut to black while we hear Tom ask what the girl's name is. Movie ends. You can't have a No Way Home plot leak without the post-credits in it, and the leaker provides one. Unsurprisingly, it ties into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, if the information is accurate. Strange gathers the remains of the broken orb and attempts to fix it, but is unsuccessful. He then senses something, hearing the faint sounds of children. Camera pans to his shoulder, revealing Wanda, Elizabeth Olsen, standing behind him with red glowing eyes. That's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe my channel so that I get the motivation to bring to you more such awesome DC and Marvel related contents. You can also share it with your friends.